They are now planning to build a massive $21 billion airport, not on land, but floating in the sea. It needs giant seawalls, hidden pumps, and non-stop repairs. Cities like Tokyo are betting big on ocean runways to dodge protests and unlock goldmine city land. But this solution risks most people never see coming. In cities like Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, and New York, every square foot of land is already packed with towers, subways, and homes. Even small vacant plots are worth tens of millions. Buying hundreds of acres would cost a fortune, and forcing thousands of people to leave. Politically, impossible. Land isn't just scarce, it's untouchable. And without new runways, these cities risk losing air traffic, tourism, and billions in business. That's why the sea becomes the last frontier. No evictions, no protests, no public backlash. At least that's what the planners hope. Water seems easier at first glance. Well, nobody needs to pack up and leave. Nobody marches in protests. From the safety of the beach, the sea looks like a smooth, empty page waiting for fresh blueprints and big dreams. Yet, that calm view hides a wild reality. Waves pound concrete day and night, banging on it like giant hammers. But building on water isn't easy. The calm ocean hides powerful forces. Waves slam concrete nonstop. Salty spray creeps into every crack and turns steel into red rust. And the storms can toss cargo ships the size of football fields off course. If you poured regular asphalt out there, it would crack and sink in weeks. So engineers must build a floating fortress. They dredge up mountains of sand and create a giant pad wider than 10 soccer fields. Around it, they drop massive concrete blocks, each as tall as a 6-story building, to form a seawall. Inside, layers of gravel, heavy-duty fabric, and hundreds of deep steel poles lock the structure into place. The runway itself slopes gently to drain water. Pumps send the water back to the sea before puddles form. Underneath, dozens of sensors check for cracks, shaking, and water pressure every minute. If a reading spikes, repair crew rush out before a small problem becomes a big disaster. In short, running an airport at sea is part flight planning, part ocean survival. Ask Hong Kong how far builders will go. In the 1990s, engineers blasted 2 hills flat, ground the rock to gravel, and tipped it into the harbor until a new island the size of Monaco rose from the waves. That single act cost about $20 billion in today's money. Japan's planned airport in Tokyo Bay is already priced higher and hasn't poured a bucket of sand yet. Why is it so expensive? Because the price tag is only half the point, the other half is power. Big building projects are like giant ads for a country. They say, look what we can do to bring your money here. Think of Singapore's airport with its huge indoor waterfall or Qatar's shiny halls covered in chandeliers. A floating airport turns the bragging rights up even higher. We're so rich that we can create land out in the ocean. Tourists see it, investors see it, competing governments see it too. Follow the money and the real plot reveals itself. A shiny new sea airport opens and suddenly the old city airport shuts its gates. That prime land, now vacant and right in the city's heart, skyrockets in value. Out of nowhere, condo towers rise, mega malls take shape, and convention centers claim their spots. But scroll truth bomb, if this kind of shady brilliance fascinates you, like, share, and subscribe before it gets buried. Because here's the twist. The same investors funding the sea airport often have stakes in these new developments. That floating runway isn't just for planes. It's a launchpad for profit, turning public infrastructure into a private gold mine. There is another side too, a long, wide runway from the busy neighborhoods which work well for big military planes in an emergency. And in crisis, the airport can swap airline logos for camouflage in a single night. Duty-free shops can turn into supply depots, and no one can argue that a civilian airport is a hidden base. It's a quiet way for a country to stretch its power without signing any formal defense deal. The $21 billion price tag is only the down payment. Saltwater never rests, so keeping a sea airport in good shape can swallow another $500 million every year. One hard typhoon can crack concrete like dry biscuits and force crews to rush in with fresh asphalt. Scientists say water levels could climb half a meter by 2100. Taller seawalls and stronger pumps buy some time, but many experts warn these airports might last barely 60 years before the waves take them back. For something that costly, that's about as long as a pet hamster's life in human years. History proves the risk. Kansai International near Osaka opened in 1994 to loud cheers, then began to sink as the soft seabed squished faster than engineers expected, dropping parts of the runway more than 5 meters. Every year, workers spend millions jacking it up so planes don't scrape the ground at high tide. Hong Kong's jet Blackhawk faces its own headaches, runway costs, computer failures, and cargo log jams that lasted for months. If two famous seaports struggled so badly, why build more? One word: leverage. A new offshore airport doesn't just land planes, it sparks a whole waterfront city. Singapore's plan wraps its runways with homes, data centers, and a beachside fun zone, a second city on the water. Doha hopes to link its Sea Edge Hamad Airport to man-made islands full of resorts. But here's what people fail to realize. Seaports offer governments quite leverage for military power. In an emergency, those wide, long runways can double as air bays for military jets or cargo planes. Duty-free shops can turn into supply depots almost overnight. No formal defense deals required, no public debate necessary. By moving flights offshore, governments cut noise, free up land on shore, and tempt private investors hungry for flashy waterfront property. In the end, the runway is a Trojan horse, an airport on paper, but a tool to unlock huge real estate profits and urban growth. Air travel bounced back faster after the pandemic, yet 2025 is sending mixed signals. Global airport groups now predict a record 9.9 billion passengers this year, well above the 2019 highs, and airlines are expected to carry about 5.2 billion of those travelers while topping $1 trillion in revenue for the first time. But cracks are showing. Industry reports for February 2025 revealed that total traffic grew only 2 to 3% year-on-year, with North American carriers even slipping into a small decline. Major U.S. airlines say domestic demand fell sharply early this year, forcing them to pull back their financial forecasts. Put those pieces together and the picture looks risky. If the growth forecast holds, a new sea airport could be a goldmine of future traffic. If the slowdown spreads, that same airport might turn into a shiny, half-empty monument to overconfidence. In 2025, the answer is still up in the air. Also, if you have liked the content till now, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Now in 2025, Tokyo's gamble has grown even louder. The city just ran a headline-grabbing test. A helicopter took off and landed on a small floating pad in Tokyo Bay, the world's first demo of its kind. Officials hailed it as step one towards a full offshore mega hub, planned to open in late 2030 and priced at roughly $21 billion. They promised deeper steel piles, taller seawalls, and smarter sensors that check the island's height every hour so it never repeats Kansai's slow sink. They also claim the whole site will run partly on solar panels, wind turbines, and hydrogen power to handle rising seas and stronger storms. Behind the cheering banners stand lobbyists, giant builders, and big banks eager for long contracts. They lock in profits before the first jet lands. If costs jump later, clauses let them tack on fees or ask Tokyo's government for extra cash, leaving taxpayers to mop up overruns while shareholders keep the winnings. A pattern that sparks fresh anger each time a new contract is signed. Green groups still sounding the loudest alarm. To shape the island, crews must dredge millions of tons of sand, bury coral, and chase fish from their only home. Muddy plumes smother the seagrass beds turtle eat, while pile driver booms confuse whale that steer by sound. Once that web of sea life snaps, it can take decades, if ever, to grow back. So the picture in 2025 is a clash of bright promises and hard questions. Tokyo's floating airport could give the city quieter skies, faster flights, and a glittering new skyline, or leave it with soaring debt and a wounded bay. The concrete hasn't even been poured, yet the stakes are already ocean deep. But one thing is clear: easy land is finished, As city grows tighter and shorelines creep inwards, people will keep reaching into the sea for space and status. A floating airport is only the opening act. Next may come data centers, sports arenas, perhaps even man-made nations. Building on water is no longer the question. The real test is whether we should and who pays when the tide turns. So do you think building a $21 billion airport on the sea makes sense, or did you spot flaws we missed? Do drop your take in the comments, like and share, and if that shocked you, wait till you see China reshaping Pakistan forever. Subscribe now.